Hey everyone, welcome back to Windows Seat Studies. I hope you all are doing well. So we were discussing about immunology, and in today's lecture we are going to discuss about cytokines. So we started this series with an introduction about immunity, the adaptive immunity as well as the innate immunity that we possess. Then we learned about the different cells of immune system as well as the organs of immune system. So till now we have discussed all of the cells of the immune system, such as the granulocytes, agranulocytes, basically all of the leukocytes, and then we also discussed about the organs of immune system, the primary and the secondary lymphoid organs. So in today's lecture we are going to discuss about cytokines. In next lecture we will have a few other immune mediators, and then we are going to discuss about inflammation. I thought that those topics are important for you to learn, so that the next lectures where we are going to discuss about B cell activation, T cell activation and their mechanism of working, in those lectures all of the stuff will be clear to you all. So today we are going to discuss about cytokines. So what are cytokines? Cytokines, these are the small secreted proteins. So these are very small proteins, almost 5 to 25 kilodalton weight. So these are small low molecular weight proteins which are secreted by either the immune cells, primarily by the immune cells, but they can also be secreted by non-immune cells, and they play a major role in immune regulation. So they are like the chemical messengers in our body which are going to help the immune cells to be able to communicate with each other. I hope you remember the cell signaling part that we discussed previously. So when I started the cell signaling series, I initiated with the introduction about signaling molecules as the way of communication between the cells, right? So cytokines, these are also small signaling molecules which are going to act as the chemical messengers in the body. Okay, so cytokines, they are going to play a role in immune regulation, inflammation, even in hematopoiesis and cellular communication. So cytokines, these are the small proteins, basically glycoproteins, secreted by immune or non-immune cells, which act as the chemical messenger in the body. So these are the chemical messengers. Okay, so the cytokines, structurally if we look at them, these are the low molecular weight glycoproteins, means the sugar molecules will be added to those proteins. So these are low molecular weight glycoproteins. I already told you the weight will be typically around 5 to 25 kilodaltons. Okay, with the weight around 5 to 25 kilodaltons. So they are very small, and they are secreted in response to some stimulation, such as the pathogenic attack. So there will be some stimulation, either the external one or the internal one, and that stimulation is going to result into secretion of cytokines. I told you the internal or external stimulation. So external stimulation such as the pathogenic attack, or internal stimulation such as the other cytokines which are going to result into secretion of cytokines, the different type of cytokines, by the different types of cells. So the stimuli could be internal or external, and those stimuli are going to result into the secretion of those cytokines. So when the cytokines are secreted, they bind to the specific receptors which are present on the target cell. So let's say that this particular cell, okay, this is immune cell such as T helper cell, and when it gets activated, it is going to secrete the cytokines. Okay, so cytokines, they are secreted in here in the extracellular matrix, and those cytokines will be received by the other cell, okay, by the receptor present on that other cell. So to this receptor the cytokine molecule will bind, and this target cell is going to have the appropriate or the concerned responses when the cytokine binds to it. So intracellular signaling cascade will start, and it will result into certain cell responses such as proliferation or activation of this target cell or the differentiation of target cell. So whatever it is, the cytokine molecules which are being secreted by the cell, by the source cell, they need to be received by the target cell. Okay, so I hope you remember the cytokine receptors, how they work through JAK-STAT pathway. So in that lecture we focused on the signaling pathway of those cytokines. So there I have beautifully explained everything about how the cytokines, when they go and bind to the cytokine receptors present on the cells, either the immune cells or non-immune cells, how those cells are going to result into activation of intracellular cascade, and that is going to result into some responses. So the whole pathway of functioning of cytokines, the cellular signaling pathway, that I have discussed in detail previously in the signaling series, and in this lecture we are going to only learn about the characteristics. So those cytokine molecules, I told you that they are, once they bind to the receptor, this ligand receptor interaction is going to activate the intracellular signaling cascade. But for those cytokines to be able to be received by this target cell, by the receptor of the target cell, there are multiple pathways. Either this signaling could be autocrine, means this A cell, the source cells and the target cell, both of them are same, means this cytokine which is produced by this cell A, the cytokine molecules, they are going to work on the same cell, okay, or they are going to bind to the receptors which are present on the same cells. Such type of signaling by the cytokines will be referred as autocrine signaling. Okay, we have discussed about those types in detail in signaling series, but I am telling you that here because you should know about how those how they are going to trigger intracellular signaling pathways. So cytokines, they can work through three major type of signaling pathways. Either there could be autocrine signaling, means the cytokines, they can trigger the intracellular pathways of the same cell, or there could be paracrine signaling, means this those signaling molecules, they are going to work on the target cell which are present nearby, so it could be paracrine signaling. And the other way of working of cytokines is the endocrine signaling, though this is not that much, I mean it's not that mostly, like it's not widespread and it's not seen occasionally. Okay, it's only seen occasionally, so it is kind of rare, but cytokines, they do work through endocrine signaling, means those cytokines, they will be released into the into the bloodstream, and they are going to through the blood, they are going to reach to the target cells which could be present in different organ, in different tissue, in the other parts of the body. Okay, so endocrine signaling also is a way of the cytokines to go to and to bind to the target cell receptors. So these are the different signaling pathways that can be opted by the cytokines. So there's a cytokine known as interleukin 2. This cytokine is secreted by the T cells, and it can work through all of those pathways. In some cases it can work through on the same cell, so it can do the autocrine signaling. IL-2 can also work via paracrine signaling pathway, and it can also go through the other body parts through the endocrine pathway. Okay, so through the bloodstream. So these are the the autocrine and paracrine, these are the most common ones, whereas endocrine signaling is rare, but we can see the endocrine signaling in the case of cytokines. So these are the different ways of work of the mechanism of the functioning of the cytokines. So those cytokines, I told you, they are very important for immune regulation. So cytokines are the chemical messengers which are going to induce the immune responses. But other than that, cytokines do have non-immune functions, such as they help in ovulation, they help in follicular development, and even in atresia of the follicles in ovary. So there are, even those cytokine molecules, they have immune regulation function, but these are signaling molecules. So those, just like other signaling molecules which has non-immune function, cytokines also have non-immune functions. So let me list the non-immune function here. So the non-immune functions of cytokines are, first of all, I told you about follicular development. right? So the follicles which are present in the ovary, for the development of those follicles, and even in the ovulation, steroidogenesis, and the corpus luteum function, in all those functions cytokines are seen. So the cytokines such as IL-8 and MCP1, these are the ones which are important for follicular development and even atresia in ovary. It's atresia in ovary, right? So these are important for ovulation. These are important for corpus luteum function, right? So these are a few of the functions which are non-immune by IL-8 and MCP1. Then there could be, they can also have immune adrenocortical function. So the glands, they are going to stimulate those glands. So IL-1, IL-6, TNF alpha, and leukemia inhibitory factors, those are the ones which are going to have immune adrenocortical function. So IL-1, IL-6, TNF alpha, leukemia inhibitory factor LIF, okay, and even IL-18. These are the ones which have immune adrenocortical functions. So these are a few non-immune functions performed by cytokines. So cytokines, these are secreted by, so mainly they are secreted by the leukocytes, okay, primarily secreted by the leukocytes, but some non-immune cells can also secrete them. So the action of cytokines is quite short-lived. So the effect of cytokine stays for few hours or to the few days, okay. So it is a very short-lived action, and the action or the effect of the cytokines, it is regulated by the by the amount of cytokines released, and they regulate the intensity and duration of immune responses. So other than those non-immune function, basically the important function of cytokines is the immune regulation, okay. So those cytokines have major functions in the immunity, in immunology. First of all, I discussed about immune regulation, right? So they coordinate innate as well as adaptive immune responses. So in this lecture, we are going to only discuss about major function, their characteristics, the types of cytokines, okay. But other than cytokines, there are present some mediators, immune mediators, such as, if you remember, we discussed about histamine, then there is serotonin. So there are certain other immune mediators, certain other immune peptides. So we are going to discuss about them in the next lecture, and in that lecture we will discuss about how there are certain cytokines which are the part of innate immunity, whereas other cytokines, these are the part of adaptive immunity. So I hope you remember when we discussed about innate immunity that we possess since birth, whereas the adaptive immunity which develops over the time due to the exposure to the different experiences. Both of those immune systems have cellular part as well as humoral part. So back in the day, when the researchers were, the immunology field was very new, and researchers were still developing their ideas about immunity. So there were few scientists which believed that the immunity, the immune responses, they are governed by cells. So they were cellularist, whereas a few scientists, they developed that the bodily fluids are the ones which are going to develop or initiate those immune responses. Means these are the ones, humoral components are the ones which are going to govern immune responses. So these are known as humoralist. So there were two factions of the, two different people having different beliefs, the cellularist and humoralist. But with the time, the development, our understanding about immune system, our immune system developed, and that gave us the idea that either innate immunity or adaptive immunity, both of them, either of them, they are controlled. They are, those immune responses have their cellular component as well as humoral component. So we have already discussed about cellular component, the different types of cells of immunity, the adaptive immune cells as well as the innate immune cells. So in the same way, I told you that humoral component is all that could also govern the innate immune responses as well as the adaptive immune responses. So cytokines, these are very, special in the case, because there are certain types of cytokines, signaling molecules, which are the part of innate immunity. whereas other cytokines are the part of adaptive immunity. So immune regulation means the induction of the innate or adaptive immune responses will be seen by cytokines and those particular types. So let's say the type like IL-12 or IL-2. So which cytokines belong to innate immunity and which ones belong to adaptive immunity, that we'll discuss in tomorrow's lecture. Okay, so immune regulation is one of the job of cytokines. Other than that, they can they can control the innate and adaptive immune responses by activating or suppressing function of immune cells, the immune cells of adaptive immunity such as T cells, B cells, or the macrophages and dendritic cells which are the part of innate immunity, and this is how they are going to coordinate adaptive and innate immunity. So besides immune regulations, those cytokines, they are going to induce inflammation. So inflammation will be caused by the cytokine signaling. So they recruit immune cells to the site of infection or injury by chemotaxis, because chemokines, these are also the cytokine molecules which are going to create a concentration gradient which will be helpful for chemotaxis of immune cells. So chemotaxis is the movement of the cells in certain direction according to the concentration gradient of certain chemical, right? So the chemotaxis will be seen. So by doing chemotaxis, the immune cells, they will be gathered at the site of infection and injury, and there those cytokines, they are going to mediate the inflammation. They are also going to mediate other other immune responses. So inflammation is the located it's a localized immune response, but the other global responses such as fever, that will be mediated by cytokines. So inflammation, fever, swelling, all of them, they will be mediated by the cytokines. Okay, so other than that, so these are the direct mechanism of functioning of the cytokines in the immune system. But other than that, I already discussed, they also help in hematopoiesis. Okay, so they have function in hematopoiesis, regulation in the production and differentiation of blood cells. They also take part in wound healing, okay, and tissue repair. So wound healing will also be seen by cytokines and tissue repair. Okay, other than that, they are important for they have antiviral property as well as antitumoral property. So whenever there is a virus attack, those cytokines are very important. Okay, so there are different types of cytokines which are going to mediate those different functions. Okay, so let's discuss about those types. Okay, so I told you, just remember those, all of those function, because when we will discuss about the types, they will be important. So let's now discuss about types of cytokines. Okay, so there are cytokines, different cytokines. So before discussing about types, I would like to discuss about nomenclature of cytokines. So the cytokines, they used to previously referred as lymphokines because they were believed that they are secreted by lymphocytes. So when those molecules, so cytokines, basically they are signaling molecules, right? So when the signaling molecules, they are secreted by lymphocytes, so they are referred as lymphokines. Okay, so this lymphokines, this term, this terminology, this was used very back in the date. Nowadays we don't really use this as much, but some books do mention about, they have the mentions about lymphokines. So lymphokines, basically these are the signaling molecules which are going to mediate the immune responses, and these are secreted by lymphocytes. If those signaling molecules, they are they are secreted by monocytes or macrophages, then these are referred as monokines, right? So nowadays we refer the cytokines as the interleukins because they are being secreted by leukocytes. So when they are secreted by leukocytes, means the white blood cells of the blood tissue, these are known as interleukins. Okay, interleukins, because you can remember it as interleukins, means it is going to mediate the communication between the leukocytes. Okay, so that is why they are referred as interleukins. So there are different types of cytokines such as interleukins, Okay, so these are the ones which are going to mediate the communication between the leukocytes, between the white blood cells. Then there are interferons. Okay, so these interferons, these are the cytokine molecules which has the antiviral activity, and they, all of them, they are important for immune regulation. Okay, so these are the antiviral cytokines. Okay, then there are the other, other cytokine molecules which are important for in inflammation, inducing inflammation as well as apoptosis. So these are referred as tumor necrosis factor. Okay, TNF. So I hope you remember when we were discussing about cell signaling, we have already discussed about tumor necrosis factor. So these are the ones which are going to induce inflammation, and they are really important in apoptosis. Okay, means cell death. Okay, so they are also, important in induction of fever, okay, swelling, all of those stuff that will be done by the tumor necrosis factor. Okay, then other than that, there are some certain colony stimulating factors, which are which are really important for stimulation of bone marrow. So bone marrow will be stimulated, and that is going to result into production of certain special blood cells. So we have already discussed about certain colony stimulating factors such as GM-CSF. Okay, the granulocyte macrophage colony stimulating factor. Okay, GM-CSF. Then there is MCSF. We have already discussed about those two colony factors. So they are the types of cytokines. So these are the cytokine molecules, and there is GCSF. Okay, so these are the ones which are going to stimulate bone marrow for production of blood cells. Okay, then there's other type known as chemokines. Okay, I already discussed chemokines in I guess the lecture of lymph nodes. Yeah, I don't remember where I discussed this chemokines, but chemokines, basically these are the molecules, these are also the cytokine molecules, a type of cytokine molecules which is going to induce chemotaxis. Okay, so chemotaxis means the movement of immune cells. So this is going to induce the movement of immune cells in the direction of the concentration gradient of chemokines. So that will result into accumulation of those immune cells at the site of injury. So this is going to signal the other cells, other immune cells, that this is the particular area. So let's say like in this area, okay, this is the particular shaded area where the chemokine concentration is higher, means the cells which are located here, due to infection, they are secreting the chemokines. So this chemokine concentration gradient, so the concentration is low here and concentration is high here. So the cells which are present in this low concentration area, they are going to, they are going to move and they are going to migrate to the area where the chemokines are higher, because the chemokines are signaling for the chemotaxis. Okay, so that they are going to signal that this is the area where the need of the immune cell is the most, because the infection is here in this area, and that is how that immune regulation, so immune cells will be accumulated at the site of injury by inducing chemotaxis with the help of chemokines. So this induces movement of immune cells. Okay, so other than chemokines, there are certain growth factors which are also the part of cytokines. So they are going to result into cell proliferation, wound healing. Okay, so those certain growth factors, they are also the part of cytokine molecules. Okay, so the growth factors such as TGF beta, okay, the growth factors such as VEGF, okay, EGF, all of them, these are the growth factors, but they also has a role in wound healing and cell proliferation. So these are also a type of cytokine molecules. Okay, so the interleukins, there are different types of interleukins such as IL-1, IL-2, okay, IL-6, IL-10, okay, IL-17, all of them, they are important for communication between leukocytes. Then the interferons, few of them that we have discussed previously, so the interferon alpha, interferon beta, interferon gamma. These are the ones which are going to result into the mediating the virus infection. So they have antiviral properties. So tumor necrosis factors such as TNF alpha, right, and TNF beta, these are the ones, these are the types of the tumor necrosis factor. Then there are colony stimulating factors such as GM-CSF, M-CSF and G-CSF. The chemokines, a few types of chemokines are the IL-8, okay, then there is CCL2, these are the chemokines, even MCP1, these are the ones which are going to mediate the, chemotaxis. So these are the types of cytokines. So we have discussed about cytokines, what are cytokines, their major functions and even their major types. Okay, so I already told you there are present cytokine receptors on the cells. So the cytokine receptors, they are high affinity receptors present on the target cells which are going to bind to the cytokines, and once this binding of cytokine and cytokine receptor is seen, means ligand and receptor interaction is seen, that is going to result into certain signaling cascades such as JAK-STAT pathway. So we have discussed about JAK-STAT pathway in the signaling series. Please refer to that lecture after this. So the JAK-STAT pathway, and then there is, they can also mediate the MAP kinase pathway and even the NF-kappa B. So TNF factors, okay, and the interferons and few IL interleukins, they are going to mediate the NF-kappa B pathway. Okay, so all of them they are going to result into regulation of immune responses. So each cytokine family has their corresponding receptor family, which is going to result into the activation of those signaling pathways. So these glycoproteins, these are very important and they possess certain properties. Okay, so they have certain effects. So there are main 5 types of effects which are important for the functioning of cytokines. So the effects that cytokines have are of various types, such as there is pleiotropic effect. Okay, pleiotropic effect of cytokines. This means that one cytokine which is produced by certain cell, that is going to have its effect on the multiple cells, and those multiple cells are going to result into different cellular responses. They are going to exhibit different cellular responses. For example, let's say that this is the TH cell. Okay, this is a T helper cell. Okay, and this cell, when it gets activated, so it is going to result into secretion of certain cytokines. So this T cell, when it gets activated, it is going to result into secretion of interleukins. Let's say it secretes IL-4. So when this T helper cell secretes IL-4, this IL-4 could affect multiple cells, such as it can affect the macrophages. Okay, it can not macrophages, actually they affect the B cells. Okay, they can affect the thymocytes. Okay, they also have their effect on the mast cells. Okay, so one cytokine molecule, it has effect on multiple cells, and the effect on multiple cells, that can differ. Okay, so B cells, they are going to get activated, they will be activated due to the IL-4. They could even proliferate. Okay, and they could even differentiate. So activation, proliferation and differentiation could be the cellular response, could be the result of the activation of signaling cascade by IL-4. Or the thymocytes, they are going to proliferate. Okay, so proliferation of thymocytes will be seen, and even mast cells, they can also proliferate due to the IL-4. So one signaling molecule which is produced by a source cell, okay, that is going to result into activation of different cells. That type of effect of cytokine is known as pleiotropic effect. Okay, so this is pleiotropic effect, where the one cytokine is going to result into activation of multiple cells. Okay, then there is other type of effect which is known as redundant effect. Okay, so this redundant effect of cytokines is seen where several cytokines, they can produce not same but similar effect. Okay, not exactly same I would say, but they produce the similar effect. That type of effect is known as redundant effect. So let's assume again this is Th cell. So when this Th cell produces certain factors, such as it can produce certain interleukins such as IL-2, okay, IL-4, even IL-5. So those multiple interleukins which are being produced by this activated T helper cell, they can have similar effects on the on the cell. So all of them, they they mediate the B cell proliferation. So here you can see there are multiple different cytokines, multiple different interleukins, and all of them, they are mediating similar effect. So that type of effect of cytokines is known as redundant effect. Okay, so this is known as redundancy. Whereas the single cytokine molecule, when it affects multiple cells, that is known as pleiotropic effect. Okay, then there is synergistic effect of those cells. Synergistic effect means cytokines, the different types of cytokines, they work together to amplify the cellular responses. So let's say that now here the different types, they are working together to give the similar effect. In redundancy, multiple cytokines work together to give the same similar effect, but in synergistic, in the synergistic effect means in the synergy, so in synergistic effect, this cytokines, multiple cytokines, they work together to amplify certain response. So B cell, so here B cell proliferation, it is a single effect or a similar effect which is seen by multiple cytokines. But let's say the cytokines which are being secreted by this T helper cells, such as the IL-4, okay, IL-4 and IL-5, both of them, they work together to amplify their response. So such as they can induce the B cell class switching to IgE antibody. So we'll discuss about the class switching in the lecture about antibody properties and antibody structure. So we'll discuss about that there. So don't worry if you don't know about class switching. So whatever effect those interleukins are going to have on the B cell, that effect will be amplified if both of those interleukins are working together. That type of effect is known as synergistic effect. Then besides synergistic effect, there is present antagonistic effect. Okay, and you might know about antagonistic effect. Okay, so antagonistic effect is seen where the one cytokine molecule has cellular response A. Let's say a cytokine molecule is resulting to cell proliferation. Okay, into the proliferation of certain immune cell, and other cytokine molecule which is being secreted by the same cell will inhibit the cellular response which is induced by the type 1 cytokine. So let's learn this by an example. So let's assume that this is the activated Th cell. Okay, so this Th cell, when it gets activated, it is going to secrete IL-4 as discussed previously, and this IL-4 is going to result into proliferation of B cells. So B cell proliferation will be seen. Okay, but let's say that this Th cell, it also secretes other other cytokines such as interferon gamma, and this interferon gamma can inhibit the B cell proliferation. So here the both of them, they have opposite role, IL-4 and interferon gamma, which are being secreted by T cells. Both of those, these are cytokines and they have different roles, and that is known as antagonistic effect. When one cytokine molecule it results into a cellular response, and that cellular response is inhibited by other cytokine molecule, that type of effect is known as antagonistic effect. Okay, then other than antagonistic effect, the one which is mostly seen is known as cascade induction. Okay, so a whole cascade will be induced, okay, by the cytokine molecules. Okay, let's learn this by an example. So let's again take the example of T helper cell. So let's assume that this is T helper cell, and specifically the Th1 cell. So when this T helper cell gets activated, it is going to secrete certain cytokine molecule. So one cytokine molecule will, it will stimulate the production of other cytokine molecules, and that will create a chain reaction. That is known as cascade induction. So this Th helper cell, okay, so this T helper cell, let's assume that it secretes interferon gamma. Okay, so this interferon gamma is going to stimulate a macrophage, and the macrophages, they are going to secrete now IL-12. So here you can see a cytokine is going to result into stimulation of a cell, which is going to result into production of other cytokine. So this is known as cascade, cascade induction. So this IL-12, it will again, activate other T helper cells. So this whole pathway is known as cascade induction. Okay. So so what were the 5 type of effects seen by the seen by the cytokines? Let's summarize them. So pleiotropic effect means one cytokine acts on multiple cell types with different effects. Okay. Redundancy is known as a redundant effect is seen where the several cytokines, they can produce similar effect. Synergistic effect is one where the two or more cytokines, they are working together to amplify certain response, such as class switching here. Okay. Antagonistic effect is that when one cytokine inhibits the functioning of other cytokine. Okay, that is known as antagonism. The cascade induction is seen where the one cytokine, okay, that is going to stimulate the production of other cytokine in a chain reaction. Okay, so I hope the properties of cytokines is clear to you all. How the cytokine is going to result into different effects. They are going to they are going to work in different mechanisms, different ways. That is clear to you all. So there are few examples of cytokines and their important roles, but we will discuss that in next lecture. We are going to discuss about the cytokines which belong to the innate immunity, as well as cytokines which belong to the adaptive immunity. So I talked about the function of cytokines in immune regulation, right? So besides the immune regulation, those cytokines, they also have some disastrous effect. If let's say the cytokines, they are being overproduced, then they can result into autoimmune diseases such as psoriasis. Okay, so overproduction of those psoriasis is not actually the autoimmune disease, but it is the overproduction of certain factors such as TNF alpha, IL-6, IL-17. When they are overproduced, that is going to result into psoriasis. So these are autoimmune diseases. So the therapies are simple. They are in those therapies we are going to use the antibodies or use the drugs which are going to block the production of those interleukins, such as IL-6. If the overproduction of IL-6 is seen, we are going to use the therapy where we are going to use IL-6 blockers, or anti-TNF therapy could be used for those psoriasis, such as infliximab. So there's infliximab which has anti-TNF property, so that can help in achieving relief in the TNF alpha overproduction. So then there's also a term known as cytokine storm, where the excessive cytokines are released. So this was especially seen in COVID-19 and even in the sepsis. So this can lead to multiple organ failure. Okay, so cytokine storm is it is also seen during the therapies, immune therapies in the for the treatment of cancer. We'll discuss about this when we are going to take the cancer biology 201. Okay, then so some tumors, they also secrete the cytokines so that they can disguise or they can disguise themselves as the cells of our body, or they can secrete the cytokines to suppress the immune responses. So not only immune cells secrete cytokines, but even the cancerous cell, the tumor cells, are going to secrete the cytokines, and those cytokines can be used for immune based therapies. Okay, for example, we can use IL-2 in melanoma. We'll discuss about this in cancer biology. The cytokines, they are also known as first responders in the infections. So here we discussed about interferon gamma, right? So it activates the macrophages. So this interferon gamma, when it activates the macrophages, so they are working as the first responder kind of mediator. So even IL-8 is the one which is also first responder, and it recruits the neutrophils, because neutrophils are the first cells to be there at the site of infection, right? So with this, I'm done with the cytokine lecture. So we discussed about cytokine, their properties, their types in detail, and even their functions. In next lecture, we are going to discuss about cytokines, which belong to innate immunity as well as adaptive immunity. So the particular types of cytokines. And besides that, we will also discuss about the other immune mediators such as histamine, serotonin, etc. Okay, so I'll catch you in the next lecture. Till then, see you. Bye bye.